Hi.
Hi. Okay.
How you doing?
Very well, and you? Good to see you.
Same here. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Good. How has your weekend been?
Very well. How about yours?
Great. A lot of
Okay,
work,
so
housework with the children.
work is going well. It's going well. So welcome everybody who is joining us. Thank you for joining us. I'm still trying to get a hang of this Instagram live thing.
Okay, don't worry. We'll do well. I'm not an expert either.
Okay, so let's just give a little bit of time for a few people to join us,
Mhm,
so
mhm,
that they don't miss before I introduce you.
mhm.
Thank you for joining. Happy to have you. I hope you have a copy of the book with you because we want reading them. Yes.
Okay. Mm.
Hi, Jane. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming to our chats. Okay, so this is Book Buzz. For Book Buzz, we chat with authors, especially authors who have new books out. Books for children. We just do books for children and young people because we just do children's books and books for young people, basically to get people to know about the books, parents, teachers, librarians, and even the children themselves, because sometimes the children join the call as well. So that because we always tend to advise people on what books to get. So this helps us if people are familiar with the kinds of books that we think are great for them to have. So that's why we do book buzz so that you have like a book list. So when you need to buy books, you know what you're getting when next year shopping. Okay, so I'm going to introduce Odunayo while other people join us. She's very experienced. Your bio is really long. Odunayo she has over 23 years of work experience in education, financial services, and telecommunications. I used to work in telecoms as well. Um, she's a John Maxwell certified coach. She's a speaker. She's a trainer, and then a DDI certified facilitator. I had to Google what DDI meant. Development Dimensions International, right? Am I correct?
You're right.
Okay,
You're
and
right.
then you are an alumnus of Lagos Business School and International Management Institute of Management Development, Switzerland, with executive trainings from Harvard and Cornell. You're also an international speaker. You've spoken in quite a number of places, and you presented papers in different places as well. You're a mentor on Wisecar platform. Wisecar is Women in Successful Careers, which is amazing. And then you are a convener of Thrive Circle, which is a mentoring platform for individuals seeking growth. And in 2019, you received a Marketing World Customer Service Thought Leader Award in Accra, Ghana. I really like the chapter on service. I can see how you would have won an award on customer service. And then your book, Alphabets of Leadership for Young Mind, is listed in United States Library of Congress, which is huge. You're passionate about leadership. I can see that from the book. You're passionate about youth development and social innovation. And you're married with 3 daughters. Amazing bio. Well done and welcome.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
joining us. Okay, so I'm
Thank
just going to tell
you.
everyone a bit about this book, and then Odunayo will read a bit. You just maybe a bit of one chapter. Or I
Okay.
can choose. I have some favorite chapters, but I'm sure you have yours. Okay,
Okay.
so this is basically an information book for young people, but I also think adults can use it as well because I benefited a lot from it. That has quite the collection of leadership principles written in a style that I really love because you begin every chapter with stories from all over the world. And some of the stories I was already familiar with, some I just learned them from this book. And then after beginning with stories, you now introduce the principle. So each chapter is alphabetized. So each chapter has one alphabet for a leadership principle, and then there were bonuses. So some chapters have two principles, and each chapter ends with exercises, which is the fun part as well, where you have to sit down and reflect on current situation and then plans for what you can do better. And then there are worksheets, so blank spaces where you can take notes. So I felt like, oh, you can even use this in a classroom if you have leadership in your curriculum in school. So which is brilliant. So that's about the book. Welcome, Ikoko. Welcome to this chat. So that's about the book. So I want you to read, if you would be so kind to read from, do you want me to choose? But anyway, you can pick anywhere you want to read from, just a short reading for us. Okay. Did you hear that? Sorry, I
Okay.
think the internet is a bit,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
was
so I said
saying
just a short reading.
yeah, so you just pick a chapter. Sorry, pick an alphabet
Okay,
and then
so
I'll
I will pick the chapter on no, N.
okay.
I like that chapter because I struggle with that.
Okay. I had a session last week and I was told to pick any and I chose any. Okay. So the alphabet N represents the word no. And it starts with a quote by Tony Blair. It says, the art of leadership is saying no, not saying yes. It is very easy to say yes. And so it starts with a story of Sheyi, who discovered how quickly saying yes would turn people that didn't like him into friends. But he got to a point in his life where his only response was a yes. And it made him look good in the eyes of others. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can.
Good. And it made him look good in the eyes of others. He sacrificed much because he wanted people to like him by saying yes to everyone. He thought this made him a good person. But it took him discovering his purpose and understanding that he needed to develop an unbroken focus if he must fulfill his purpose, turn his yes into a no. The day he discovered the word no, he discovered fire. Sheyi learned that a simple no had power and that saying no is a self-sufficient act. He learned that to say no means to rely on himself and be accountable. Sheyi gave himself no other option but to be successful by sidelining any distractions or anything that will not further his course by simply saying no. Now, so I say in the book, the most successful people are good at staying focused. And although there may be people that are more talented than they are, they excel because they have this ability to maintain their laser-like focus by saying no. When it comes to saying no, the late CEO of Apple, Steve Jobs, was a master. He was one of the few people who would say no to the good things so that he could focus on something great. No is one of the shortest words in our vocabulary and also one of the shortest sentences in the English language. No is actually a sentence, you know. It is equally, if not more powerful than the word yes. Most times, I'm thinking is bumped into opposite which lead us to see yes as the opposite of no, and to see yes as positive and no as negative. No is how you break away from conformity and the need to be accepted. You cannot be a leader if the need to be accepted is more important to you than every other thing. If you are to succeed in life, you can't be shy to say no. It enables you to affirm all that you are and all that you stand for. It reinforces your values when tested. It empowers you to move forward towards your goals and objectives. No declutters your vision, and it is an important tool for attaining self-development and accountability. Now, there are two ways. I saw in the book, I say, you say no in two ways. You say it internally and externally. Saying no internally is telling it to yourself when you find yourself straying from your commitment. For instance, you desire to lose weight and you are committed to staying off confectionery. Then your friend orders some cheesecake. You take saying a strong no to yourself to keep your commitment. You know, saying no is when you refuse to be influenced negatively. That's saying no externally. Is when you refuse to be influenced negatively by others. In the course of my career, I have had to say no repeatedly to offers and meetings which are not aligned to my productivity. But for some, it's a different story. And so we look again, at the story of Ola. Just let me run through this. So Ola promised to drive 3 of his friends in his car to various places on the same day. This happened to be the same day he planned to write the first chapter of his, in quote, best-selling book. What do you think the outcome was? Your guess is as good as mine. Ola disappointed one of his friends because of the heavy traffic, made 2 of his friends happy, but did not get to write the first chapter of his book. What do you think the outcome would have been if Ola aligned his priorities to his goals? And then we list some of the reasons we should say no. Number one, it keeps you focused on your goal. It helps you balance the various aspects of your life such that you have time for every part of your life. It helps with proper time management. Your time is better now committed to executing important goals that are critical to your success. No prevents burnout. It keeps peer pressure at bay. And saying no is an art by itself. The way it is said is as important as saying it. Now, how do you say no? The first thing in the book is that you try not to be forceful about it, except the situation is threatening. Don't leave the recipient of the no stranded. Present possible alternatives. Now, be calm when you say no. Don't say it with a burden of guilt. Because when you say it with a burden of guilt, it opens you up for manipulation. Because someone sees that, you're guilty already. And then they push you into doing, that which ordinarily you may not, want to do. And so there's the exercise. Under the exercise, you have exercise 2. Practice saying no to requests and activities that do not prioritize your goals. And exercise B is make a list of some of the time you think you should say no to some requests, stating what those requests are, and write why you think you should say no to these requests. And those are some examples in the book. So that's it. I've tried to really condense it. I skipped a lot of things at the time, but that's the chapter on
No.
no.
Okay, someone said niceness. Okay, go on, please.
Go ahead.
So there's a comment that said niceness is not a fruit of the spirit.
I agree. I agree. Patience might be love is faith, but definitely not niceness.
Okay, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to say that, no is so powerful. It's powerful because it helps you as an individual to set, to achieve, to get things done. A
Yeah,
lot of us um, keep saying yes, even the things that don't serve us and don't serve
exactly.
other people.
Exactly.
And I found that observing my children grow, children are very good at saying no. You ask a child for, you give a child a muffin, and you ask the child to give you some of the muffin back. The child is quick to tell you no. But
Emphatically,
we
no.
exactly. And then we grow these children, the environment programs them, reprograms them, like we have also been reprogrammed. And then they begin to say yes, yes, yes. And so I just believe that there's a lot of power in no if any individual is to live intentionally.
Okay, awesome. So let's now talk about the book. Why young people?
Great. Thank you for that question. Um, so, young people, because when you focus on young people, you're preserving the future. You can save the future. Now, you may not be able to help a helpless past, a hopeless past, or help a helpless present, but
Yeah.
you can secure the future. And for me, I work with young people. So I also run some leadership programs for young people. And at my age, I look back at our country, Nigeria, and I see that, we're playing catch up in everything. Even in parenting, we're playing catch up in every part of our lives as a nation and as individuals.
Yeah.
And I believe that, it would be very unfair to have young people suffer for the mess that has been created. And one of the things, I felt could speak to that and begin to impact that is, having a book where young people can learn leadership early in life. Because if you, I don't know if you would agree with this, but I've seen it play over time. Leadership has been positioned as the exclusive preserve of adults, and it
Mm.
shouldn't be. That's why you
Yeah.
find, older people get into positions and they can't make head or tail out of it. So
Yeah.
I believe that, catching these children, young and sharing values with them that helps to transform them as individuals. And then they can also impact their environment, with that. So really that's the reason for the book. But I tell you the deep reason for the deeper reason for the book. My oldest daughter will be 15 in a few days. And when she was going into secondary school, she wanted to go to boarding house. And, well, I'd gone to boarding house myself.
Yeah.
Her dad didn't, and he didn't want it. But she really wanted to go to boarding house. And I felt that, going into an environment where there are different children from different backgrounds, honorable backgrounds too, she was going to have some of the truth she had grown up with, challenged. People would challenge her truth. And so I felt that I needed to write her a journal, stating the very basic things of life, talking about love, about God, about faith, about prayer, discipline, and all of that. And I started that journal. So I hate to disappoint you. I haven't finished the journal. She's already she's already in. I think by September, give or take, she's supposed to be in her last year in secondary school. I haven't finished that journal. But along the way, I started the project for the alphabet of leadership. And at that point for me, it was about beyond my daughter. It was now about every young person, out there. So really that is the deeper reason for the book.
Okay, so you recommended exposing them to leadership from age 8 to 23. Um, can this be done earlier for parents who haven't started? Can they catch up?
Oh, yes. So it should be done earlier. And I'll tell you why. So let me use the example when I was pregnant. And so you would see that you could talk to a baby that was in the womb. And so there are times the baby would kick and I would hit it back. And I would hit that foot back. I was going to say, stop it.
Yes.
And so that really is teaching some form of leadership in terms of kick me too much, if you want me to take care of you, something like that. And so yes, it can be leadership can be taught much earlier, right from the womb. You start talking to a child, and even right from when they're toddlers through their growth years. But I just tagged it into that age. But yes, you can teach leadership much earlier. You ask if people can catch up, of course, and I want to believe that that's why the word leapfrog exists. People can catch up, but it takes a wheel to be able to catch up. It takes us putting a structure in place for maybe in the home, for instance. So I have my children reading this book. They've read it, and I've said, we will read it, we'll discuss it, you share with me, as a family, because that's another thing that the book is good for. You can use it in your home as a rallying point for the family, where the parents, the children are very involved, they share experiences, and we begin to learn a lot more, about our children. So it's never too late. It's just never too late, and it's never too early to teach leadership to young people.
Okay. So there was a chapter that struck me. The one where you use an example of try to drop that pen. The power of words.
Yes, I think yes.
So can you talk a bit about that principle?
Okay. Now, when you talk about the power of words, I believe, and I think L in the book is language. Yes, because I believe so much that as human beings, ability, in us. And so our language determines a lot how far we can go in life. And for me, the language is twofold. It's either you have the language of a victim, or you have the language, of the victor. So it's either you have vanquished or you have the language of the victor. And so our words create. So I'm a Christian, and I think we read Genesis 1:1. The earth came to being by the spoken word of God. And so when we understand the power that we carry, and the fact that our thoughts are expressed through what we say, then we should be a bit more intentional what we say. Now, the power of words is such that the words are just an expression of what is going on inside of us. And so for us to have that power to create with our words, then we must be working on ourselves internally. We must be, working on our mindset to have the right mindset. And that's why they will say as parents, as siblings, as guardians, use the right words with young people. Because you know what? When you get spoken to, you get told a particular word or phrase for a long time, you start believing it.
Yes.
And so when you tell someone, you're not good enough, there's nothing good about you, such children grow up and, they really begin to doubt themselves. But if we understood the power of words, then, we will speak life into everywhere we find ourselves. And even at a much older age, at a much older age, someone is working somewhere and you have a team lead or a manager that keeps telling you, your work is just rubbish, it's trash, and there's nothing good. You get frustrated. And before you know it, if you're not so strong, you might take the wrong, you might do just the wrong thing, either by resigning hurriedly or, by quarreling or doing something that is untoward. And so for me, the power of words matter because for the speaker and the listener, there's an impact.
Okay. What were for you the best chapters to write?
Okay, so people keep asking me that question, and I found that um, writing every alphabet had there was a different experience that led to it. So, in addition to the stories I'd shared with you, I belong to the John Maxwell. I'm a member of the John
Yeah.
Maxwell team, and we normally have this 1 month program. We call it the Global Youth Initiative, where we teach leadership at no cost to young people. And so, in 2018, I knew that in 2017, I'd gone out to different schools to talk, I'd gone to the slums, I'd done all of that. So in 2018, my work schedule would not allow me to do those things. So I decided that, I was going to write the 26 chapters, 26 alphabet in 26 days. But I'm sure life happens and then
Yeah.
you don't get to do those things. You say you do it 26 days. And then I started the thread. So if you check me out on LinkedIn, on Facebook, you will find some of these things there because I was putting it out there. And then I think I stopped at, but the book is quite different. The stories are not there. You won't find the stories, on social media. And it's much enriched in terms of the book is richer than what you have. So there's an experience that led to writing each chapter, but I think I'll take two. And the first one is Mindful, is the alphabet M. I thought I coined, so that day I sat in, late at night, I was writing and I felt, what will M be? What will M be? And then I thought about.
Can you hear Odunayo? Okay, so I have to add her back. I think network issues. I'm going to add her back. Okay, so she'll join us back. Sorry. Yes, she's reconnecting. She's joining back, so she'll be back up in a few seconds, hopefully, if network allows. Can you hear me? Okay, so trouble joining, guess. So she's trying to join. I can see her request and I've accepted it. Hopefully she's able to join. Okay, great. She's back. Yay. Sorry. Hi, welcome back.
I'm so sorry. I think I lost
Yeah.
connectivity. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, I can. Can we
Okay.
all hear Dwayo? Okay, I can hear you. Can we all hear Odunayo, please? Just say yes if you can, so we know that you can hear her. Okay, so yes, please
Okay.
go on.
Good. Okay. So I was talking about the chapters, and I was talking about minditude, and I thought I coined the word, but I just went on a search on Google, and I found the word. And I think that chapter for me is very, very eye-opening, especially because I believe in the power of the mind. I actually believe that the mind is one of the greatest magnets that exists. Because when you think on something for too long, just watch out, is going to, you attract it. And so the chapter on minditude for me, and also the chapter on questioning.
Yes, that's one of my
Questioning
favorites.
because Okay, questioning because it's powerful, and a lot of us don't ask questions. But
Questions,
times
yeah.
even children have been raised, not to ask questions. Children, it's amazing how innocent people are until the environment reprograms everyone, you know. And children ask a lot of questions, but a lot of times we tell them, oh, it's okay. I don't, we try
Shut them
to
up,
shut
yes.
them down. But the
Yeah.
more you ask questions, because the mind is actually very inquisitive, the more you ask questions, the more perspectives that you gain, and then the more angles you begin to see from. So the chapter on question, and I think one of the toughest ones I wrote was the X. I searched for
X factor.
adjectives, I searched, yeah,
Yeah.
I searched for everything around, X, and I couldn't find anything. I went days, and then one day, because I always watch the X Factor with my, there's a show,
Yeah.
and so I watch it with my children, and I'm like, okay, let's try the X Factor. And that's something that makes you different. So that was the most difficult I wrote, because I really, really, searched for an adjective that begins with X.
I like the idea of alphabetizing the chapters because it also makes it easy to remember the principles. And when you
Yeah.
remember it, then you now think about, okay, what's in that principle? But it makes it, I mean, right now I'm sitting down here, I'm thinking see courage. I can think of all the different principles just by going through the alphabet from the beginning to the end. And I thought that was a brilliant strategy to use it to help kids remember what they've read in the book, and just have fun in it. What's the letter C principle? And as talking to their friends and stuff like that. Okay. I also I'd mentioned this before. I like that you started out with stories. What was the process that led to you deciding that you were going to start every chapter with a story for each of the chapters?
Okay, so by the time the A to Z was done, there were no stories initially. And then I got in touch with my publisher, and I felt, okay, so she read through, she lives in the United States. She read through, she's a Nigerian, and she was wow all about the book, and was going on and on, how she'd been in conversations with people, and seeing that Nigeria as a nation needed such a book, and for young people. So both
Yes.
of us started thinking about, how can we make it better? Because at some point, the dream is that the book can be used to teach leadership even in school.
Exactly.
And so we wanted to enrich it the more. And she just came up with the idea to say, maybe we'll look at stories. And I said, wow, that's fantastic. So we had to do a rework. So I did a rework of the whole chapters, adding the stories to them. And really was just to make sure that it was easy for the young people to really, really, grasp what the core or the message of the book.
So did you have these stories? Did you have? I imagine that you had to do a lot of research for you to get stories that fit in. For instance, the chapter on service where you mentioned Southwest Airlines, I was like, perfect story for that chapter. I mean, like, did you have like a catalog of all of these stories, or you had to do a lot of research for you to come up with stories that fit into each of the chapters?
Okay, so it's a combination of both. So Southwest Airlines for me. In my career, I've used them so much as case studies. You understand, for service, for this. Yeah. So some came quite familiar, but some very few. I think just about 2 or 3 of them were written out. In terms of, we had to come up with the stories by ourselves. But yes, a lot of research was done, and just to ensure that the young people have a good book in their hands and they can learn from. Yeah.
Okay, very impressive. Okay, so I would please ask that you read one more chapter. I'll be happy to choose again. I should mention, I like the fact that you added problem solving as a bonus to the one for P, because I think that's a leadership skill, a leadership principle that is invaluable. So I have to commend you for that. I really like the fact that problem solving was included. So I'm mentioning some of my favorites. I liked the part for service. I like the part for time, which is really, really important. Questions you have mentioned, being responsible, and something about being the chapter on responsibility. Every Saturday I do story time with a school.
You see that I'm moving.
And it's
Farida,
sorry?
I'm trying to, I said, you see that I'm moving. It seems I'm having network issues, but you can still hear me, right?
Yes, I can hear you, but can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so I was trying to share a story about the chapter on responsibility. Every Saturday I do a character story time on Zoom with a school, and we address one leadership character. So the one we did today was on responsibility. And it's just funny when you think about it. It's so easy to pass the blame to the next person when something goes wrong. Like, you did it, it's because you didn't do this. That's why. So I like that responsibility is covered, because children tend to pass the blame to their siblings, to their friends, in-laws, and I think that's a chapter that is really relevant for children in this age, because the blame game is something that, and that's why we are as parents, we are judges, because you're trying to judge cases between siblings every single minute of every day. So that's a good one. I thought that you added responsibility. So can I choose a chapter?
Yes.
Okay, I will choose the one on time. Please, if you could read that one for us. I think time, learning to own your time is very important.
Yeah. Okay, so that's on page 200. Let me pick that. Okay. And, I personally always say something. I always say that time is the currency of life. Because we live our lives, our lives in time and in seasons, really. So it starts like every other chapter with a quote. It says, "Don't be fooled by the calendar. There are only as many days in the year as you make use of. One man gets only a week's value out of a year, while another man gets a full year's value." That quote is by Anthony Charles Richards. Now let's go to the story that it starts with. It says, Nancy was habitually late with submitting her coursework assignments. no matter the amount of time she had to get it done, and consequently had to lose some points on the course, which negatively impacts her overall grade. She always attributed her lateness to having no time. Frustrated with her outcomes, she asked her professor, how can I manage my time? I feel like 24 hours is no longer enough for me with so much to do. Professor Lee started by saying that there is a thumb rule of this world for time management. Focused people have no problem with time because they make time work for them. But that people who lack a sense of priority will always have less or no time because they often spend their days killing time with unimportant tasks, thus achieving little or nothing in the end. And so the professor asked, have you ever heard of Benjamin Franklin? Nancy said yes. And Professor Lin said, as a young man in his 20s, Benjamin Franklin was a very hard-working man. But no matter how hard he worked each day, the employer still complained that he was not getting much done and thus was not productive. So Franklin started observing himself. He wrote a diary and made a list, categorizing his daily tasks into important, less important, least important, and avoidable tasks. At the end of each day, Franklin would check off tasks that he had completed. After a week, he observed that he worked on less important and avoidable tasks more than the important tasks. Excuse me. He discovered firsthand how he was wasting valuable time. Little wonder his employers complained he was not productive, despite how hardworking he was. And Professor Lee summarized saying that Benjamin Franklin eventually became the man who got much done. He was a leading author, printer, political theorist, politician, postmaster, and a diplomat, in addition to being one of the United States of America's founding fathers, who helped to draft the Constitution. For many, the lines blur between being productive and being hardworking, because many do not prioritize and are not aware that some tasks can be avoided or left for later. And so the leadership alphabet is time. Life will always be a function of time, past, present, and future, expressed in time, age, and lived in time, minute, hour, day, week, and the year. Time is the currency of life. What you get or do not get out of life is directly related to how you make use of your time. And so we talk about some truths about time. In the book, there are 4 truths about time. The first one is that time can only be spent and not saved. Spend your time doing meaningful things. The second thing is, the more you spend time wisely, the more it compounds back to you. The third one, the third truth about time is purpose plus self-mastery plus time is equal success. The fourth truth is when time is put to good use, productivity is high and the probability of burnout and stress is reduced. So the question is, what do you spend your time on? So there's some nuggets there to help us in achieving more. Some of them are, we must have a vision. What is your vision for yourself, for your life, or even for a task that you are working, that you have at hand? What is your vision for that? It's important to write it down and for you to keep it in your memory. Then distill your vision into smart goals. Your vision is what you want to be, where you want to be, or it could be a vision for a project you have at hand, or how you want the end, the success picture of this project to look like. And so we talk about distilling the vision into smart goals. Now, smart goals, I'm sure we all know what the smart means. The S is it has to be specific, M is measurable, A is achievable, R is realistic, and T is time bound. The third nugget is from your goal, you have to identify your big ticket actions. This will be the actions that move you towards achieving your purpose, and they make a big difference for you. And then you prioritize these big ticket items. Those will be the things Benjamin Franklin categorized as important, very important. And then planning is important. For us to get the most out of our time, we have to plan. And when we talk about planning, sorry, I'm still reading the book. I think I've gone into memory mode now. I'm just speaking from my from what I know of the book. When you talk about planning, a lot of us think it's something very big. It's not. Today is Saturday. Why not plan for next week? Now, how do you plan? What are the 3 things you want to get done next week? And if you do, moves you closer to becoming who you want to be, moves you closer, to move you closer to your purpose. And 3 things that will matter in a year, they will matter in 2 years, they will matter in 3 years. And in 3 years, and then you focus, on it and get it done. Constantly change your daily habits. That's important. Change your daily habits that you have. It helps you to use time, better. And then another thing you can do is get an accountability partner, someone who wishes you well, and can hold you to your commitment. One good thing is that it's never too late to spend your time well. You can start today. And so it also has about 3 exercises that you can do. There's something that we do in the domain itself. We share this. I hope you can still hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Can you
it's
hear
breaking
me?
A bit, but yes.
Okay.
Yes, I can.
Okay. And so there was a day we were having, we were with him, and someone asked a question that he's written so many books, and someone asked the question that, how does he do that? And he said, you know what, that he plans his week, and he makes sure that everything he has to do in his week, he finishes it off by Wednesday.
Wow.
So that means he stretches himself. So he finishes it off by Wednesday, and he can take on things from the next week and begin to work on them. And then everybody thinks he's a superstar, but he's only just decided, to make a better use of his time, and he has indeed found the best way to make use of his time. So
the code of time, using your time wisely, you have done well.
So
okay, so we have to round up now because our time, so that Instagram doesn't cut off. So I think you've done really good work with this book, and I was thinking while I was reading it, that if this book can be used, because the way you structured it, if it can be used in schools such that, because you have worksheets, you even have exercises. So if you teach a lesson, you have the exercises that you can go through with the children. I think it would be really amazing, because we need leadership lessons urgently from when, like you said, from when children are young, so that they grow with it. So I just want to know if there's any last words you want to leave us with before we cut off.
Well, I'll just like to say that we all carry greatness in us, and one of the saddest things about life is that a lot of us end up with unexpressed talent, unexpressed gifts that we've been given. I think it's just to tell everybody on the call, or whoever gets to listen, that you carry greatness in you, and you need to express the greatness. You need to find it, give yourself permission to become. A lot of people ask, oh, you wrote a book, how? And I laugh, because the truth is, for me, I was just doing, it was something, I put my mind to, and I got it done. And so that means if I can do it, everybody has
Everybody else
the
can.
ability to do something great. So I want us to challenge ourselves and go into this new week from tomorrow, doing something great and adding value to every day that we find ourselves and every person, that we come in touch with.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. This has been good. Thank you very much. So I'm going to end now so I can save the video. If not, we'll lose the video. We need to be able to save it so that we can refer back to it. Thank you very much. I hope everybody else got value. Thank you for joining. And thank you to those who stayed to the end.
Thank you.
All right, everybody.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Okay, you too.
Bye.
Bye.